Thanks for joining, everyone. Okay, chat. Cool. Okay. So I'll kick things off and then a few housekeeping. If you've got any questions at all, you can pop them in the Q&A and then I can get to them at the end. So I'll kick off. Okay. So hi everyone, my name is Maureen and I am a software engineer at American Express. Today I will be presenting the topic 7 roles, 7 teams, how to navigate transitions in your tech career. So throughout my career, I've had the opportunity to learn how to plan how I want my career to go by listening to the career journeys of other people. So I have chosen this topic to share some of the lessons that I've learned so far, and I hope that this will be useful to you. Okay, so on the agenda for today, I'll talk you through transitions, what the different types of transitions are, and also talk you through my career journey, sharing the background of my journey at American Express and the roles that I've done over the years. And then I'll share lessons learned throughout my career. I'll cover embracing change, identifying transferable skills, how to make meaningful connections, and using continuous learning as a career strategy. And then I'll share my contact as well for anyone who wants to have a chat with me afterwards about anything else. So transitions. When I meet new people, one of the questions that I love asking is, how did you get here? And that's not me asking their mode of transportation, whether they walked or rode the bus or took the train. But that's me asking how and what has your career journey been like? I'm always very keen to hear the different parts that people have taken to lead them to where they are. And a lot of the time, I am actually blown away by how long people have been on their career journeys or the different parts that people have taken. So types of transitions. There are several types of transitions, but I'm going to focus on the top 5 common ones. The first one is industry change. So industry change, just like the name says, is moving from one industry to another. Lately, I've been getting a lot of messages from different people working in different industries who are looking to transition into technology and are looking for some guidance. In the past, I've successfully guided a woman who used to work in customer care to transition into technology. She currently works in a quality engineer role, and that's an example of a career transition by industry change. The next one is functional change. That's shifting from one function or role to another function in the same industry. A good example that I can think about right now is moving from marketing to product management in technology, or maybe moving from data engineering to backend Java engineering. So when you do a functional change, you're transitioning to a different role, often with new responsibilities. Functional changes are very common at American Express and a great way for colleagues to leverage their transferable skills to gain more experience. The next one is vertical change. So that refers to climbing the ladder. And you're climbing the ladder within the same department or the same job family. So usually these come in a form of promotions, which are also very common at Amex for colleagues who are excelling in their roles and want to grow professionally. So think about maybe being in a junior engineer role and moving to a senior engineer role, or maybe from a senior engineer role to a staff engineer. That's an example of vertical change. The next one is lateral change. So lateral change is transitioning to a different role, often at the same level with very similar responsibilities. So there's no promotion, there's no demotion. an example is moving from maybe Java, being a Java engineer from one team to become a Java engineer on another team at the same level. And another type of transition is the hybrid change. And that commonly combines elements of 2 or 3 of the other types of transition. So an example is a vertical change and a functional change all in one. So you're moving up the ladder while also changing roles and functions. So an example of this is moving from a junior data engineer to a senior software engineer. So you're promoted to a higher level of responsibility, plus you're having a shift in the type of work and the skills that you require. So these are the 5 examples of transitions. Now I'll talk to you about my career journey. So in my career, I have experienced several of these transitions that I've talked about. So in the second part, I'll share some of them with you. My career journey in technology started somewhat in the year 2012 in Ghana, but I'll limit this discussion to my career journey at American Express. And my biggest transition was a geographical transition, which I didn't cover, but it's moving from one place to another for a job. In my case, I moved from Ghana to the UK for work. So I joined American Express on the technology graduate program. At the time, it was a rotational program. So the nature of it was for each grad on the program to do a minimum of 6 months on each team. And I always jokingly say that I am the record holder for the person who's done the highest number of rotations on the grad program at American Express, because I moved around a lot, mainly because I could, and I was very curious and wanted to try different things. So my very first role was assigned to me based on the skill sets that I had at that time. So it was a backend Java role. I worked on a small Scrum team, and my task was a small automation piece of work to automate how content got from Excel to SharePoint. So I used things like Apache POI, and I also learned a lot about agile agile methodologies. And then my next role, very similar to the first one, I was also matched to that team according to the skill sets that I had. It was a .NET engineering role, and I had previously learned .NET on a job that I did in Ghana. So there was a team that needed something similar to what I did on the other team, the automation work, but this time doing it in Java rather than doing it in .NET rather than Java. So then I moved to that role. So that change was a functional change. I moved from one function to another function at the same level with a similar set of skills, just 2 different programming languages. Even though I had experience with .NET programming and I was able to hit the ground running, that role had a few difficulties that had me questioning how good of an engineer I was, and whether I should pursue other things just to try my hands at other things. So that imposter syndrome led me into wanting to try my hands at something completely different, still a bit technical, but something in a non-coding area, because I thought maybe I didn't have the skills that I needed to be a great developer. So project management, it was a project management role, analyzing the bin range expansion process at American Express, just to know the different teams that were involved in that project and how much it would cost. I set a stretch goal for myself in that role to be able to recommend how American Express could save money for the next bin range expansion project. And at the end of the project, I had successfully come up with recommendations for a 50% cost save, which was really good. So that moving from .NET engineering to like a technical project manager role was a functional change as well. I used a set of skills that I had to learn on the job, and that happens to be one of my favorite roles and one of my favorite projects that I worked on. I got the opportunity to do presentations to different teams and different tech leaders. And out of that, I learned that I loved speaking in front of groups. And I also got the opportunity to expand my network and to learn more about the different teams at American Express and the work that they do. So through those presentations, I came across a product management team whose work I found really, really interesting. So I talked to my then leader about shadowing that team. It was a great shadowing experience at the end, and it actually led me into rotating into that team. The reason why it was interesting to me was that team was the first point of contact for the Amex business team into technology when it came to co-brands. And I find that because I had a technical background and I had built my communication skills from working on the bin range project, it was very easy for me to communicate with engineers and people who work closely with them to get requirements from business communicated to the tech teams. So that type of transition, another functional change, I needed a different set of skills, but I really learned a lot in that role. When the time came for me to rotate again, I knew I had missed hands-on technology at this point. So I moved into a team that needed a data engineer to look after all of the databases owned by different teams at American Express and also build new databases for new tech products that were coming up. I had prior skills from a role that I did in Ghana. And the only caveat here was for me to learn how to do it the Amex way. So again, I got the opportunity to work with several teams and it was a great experience. This was also a functional change. I used tools. I had to learn how to use tools that were different from what I was used to. The team dynamics were also very different. So I learned a different way of working. So at this point, I had rolled off of the rotational grad program and I became a Java engineer. I actually learned of that role through a random conversation with a hiring leader that I met from the WIT network. I met him in a lift, one of the lifts at work, and he told me he was hiring. So I went and had a look at the role and I applied for it because it was going to give me the opportunity to bring all of the skills that I had learned, I had picked up from all of the different roles I had done into one. So I got to use my people skills, my Java skills, my data engineering skills. And it was a hybrid rotation, a combination of vertical and functional skills that I had learned from the different rotations, like I mentioned. I also learned a lot about the American Express tech infrastructure in that role. So I became really good at writing technical documentations from that. Throughout the different rotations and my involvement in the different networks, I learned how to work out loud, sharing the work that I was doing on the different teams and even before joining American Express. Back when I was in Ghana, this was about 2014, 2015. I spent some time in hospital with my brother and our experiences in the hospital moved me to do some work researching health information systems in different hospitals. I ended up building a health information system to replace the manual book records. So I spoke about that work to my team at American Express and also at the Amex Internal Developer Conference. And my team put me up for the Every Woman in Technology Award, which I had no idea I was going to win. I thought it was a tough call because some of the other people in the category were like VP of Innovation, people who had done like really big things in the UK. But I ended up winning, and that was really good for me. So after that win, my career trajectory changed massively. I got the opportunity also to join so many networks, A notable one is the GTA Black Women in Tech um, community. And I had the honor of sharing my career journey story in the Voices in the Shadow book. That book highlights the story of 51 Black women in the UK tech industry doing amazing things and also being role models. So all of these experiences and transitions taught me so much about myself. I learned that even though I'm an engineer, I need the people interaction part to thrive in any role that I do. So I saw the posting for the role that I'm currently doing, software engineering with developer advocacy. And I went for it because it gives me the opportunity to write code, build community, and interact with engineers and people who work closely with engineers. That's like my dream role. So in this role, I have the opportunity to run boot camps to teach people how to write code, how to write software the Amex way. I also get the opportunity to talk to developers to understand their pain points and use my technical skills to remove those pain points. And I also get the opportunity to upskill and then teach. For example, I got training for GitHub Copilot for using that for developer productivity. And I teach that back to the developer community at American Express with my team. And I also get the opportunity to attend and speak at conferences. So from backend Java engineering in 2018 to the current role, which is software engineering with developer advocacy, that was a hybrid change. So it's a promotion, a vertical change, and a functional change at the same time. So with all of the rules and recognition, I feel privileged and really lucky to be in a place of influence in the tech industry, not just in the UK, but also outside. 2 years in a row, I've been featured on Computer Weekly's Most Influential Women in UK Tech. So this is my career journey at Amex so far, and I'm just looking forward to where that takes me. So next one is lessons learned. I've changed roles a lot, so I think that I've earned the right to share some of the lessons that I've learned along the way. There were so many lessons, but I'm going to focus on four. And if anyone wants to chat through anything else that I don't mention here, we can do that in a Q&A session or maybe over a virtual coffee sometime. So lesson one, be open and ready for change. I really like this quote by Heraclitus, which says, there's nothing permanent except change. Change can be voluntary or involuntary. The tech industry is evolving, things are always changing. As people, we're also always changing. Our interests change, we learn new things. Life can also force you to change. Our general circumstances can also change. In 2007, the New York Times predicted that people would change jobs an average of 3 times. That number jumped to 7 by 2010. And by 2015, it had jumped to 10. So I'll tell you a story. A lot of the time when I was a grad, I saw how squiggly my career was going, and I saw that as a weakness. So it wasn't until about 2019 when I started seeing all of the changes that I went through as the best part of my career. I started taking stock of all of the skills that I picked up along the way. And since then, I've started seeing change, however it comes, as a positive thing. So I've learned to embrace the experiences that I've had throughout all of those roles and all of the skills that I got through that. So now, lesson two, it's hard skills can be transferable too. I've got a question for everyone here. I don't know, anyone who wants to answer, you can just type in the chat. What are transferable skills? When I say transferable skills, what comes to mind? soft skills, problem solving, communication. Yep. Things I've learned, job specific skills you can apply to any job. I like that. Yep. These are great. Yes. So rightly, transferable skills are skills that can be transferred from one context to another. So I find that most people, including me several years ago, overly focus on soft skills when they're thinking about transferable skills. But it's important to remember that hard skills can be transferable too. So, for example, take project management. Project management is a hard skill. It can be exhibited across many roles, whether you're working in marketing, working in sales, you're working in tech. Project management is a skill that you can exhibit across all of those. It involves a specific set of skills, specific set of abilities, and also teachable abilities. So when you're thinking about transferable skills, it's important to remember that your domain expertise or your domain knowledge when you're thinking about transitioning into a different role. So the first one is identifying your skills. So how do you identify your skill? An analogy that I learned from one of my friends, and I use a lot these days is, for example, take it as you're getting dressed to go out with your friends or go out somewhere. What do you do if you want to know how you look? You can look in the mirror and see for yourself. So that's self-reflection. So think about all of the skills that you have. Think about things that you do, things that you feel you're good at, and just try to figure out what skills you use to do those things. That's self-reflection, right? Or you can, what I do when I get dressed going anywhere, I make a quick FaceTime call to my sister or my best friend just to see what they think. So that's seeking feedback, right? Think about all of the projects that you've worked on, people that you've worked with, and this shouldn't be limited to just work, right? It's anything, whether if you volunteered somewhere, you probably did it with somebody else. There was somebody there who saw the work that you were doing. So you can seek feedback from those people. And another thing that you can do to identify your skills is to review performance evaluations and comments from appraisal documents to know what you do well and any areas for improvement. I do this all the time just to take stock of what my skills are and any opportunities to get new skills. The next thing that you can do is to identify transferable skills. Identifying transferable skills involves a lot of exploration. You can do job shadowing like I did, just to learn more about a role and skills that you already have that you can apply to that role. You can also interview people who are already working in the area that you're interested in getting into, just to see what kind of skills they use for their job. You can get a lot of insight into roles that way. And you can also analyze job descriptions. Job descriptions are very readily available. So you can just go online. If there's a role that you're curious about, you can analyze the job descriptions to see what skills are used for that job. And it's usually always listed in there. So it's a good way for you to identify skills that you have that you can transfer to that role. The next one is learning how to frame your transferable skills. It's sometimes very easy for you to get carried away and write all the skills that you think are transferable, but it's important that you remember to just present the parts that are relevant and important to the area that you're transferring to. So if, for example, you're going to work in, let's say, backend coding, and that there's certain skills that you might have that you think you can bring there, but just make sure that you're framing it in the right way and just not putting any and everything in there. Okay, lesson 3 is make meaningful connections. So creating real life connections through actual conversations is extremely helpful. I've done that a lot and it's served me really well. 85% of jobs are filled by word of mouth through personal connections. So how can you make meaningful connections? You can do that through community building and networking. Internally at American Express, there's so many affinity groups that I'm part of. Externally, there are communities like AnitaB.org, GTA Black Women in Tech that I mentioned. And for me, because I want to stick to where I come from, just have ties with them. There's another community, Deaf Congress, and I know they're in different parts of Africa, but I am in the Ghanaian chapter. It's important for you to also not limit networking to just networking up. So don't always look for someone who's higher than you to network with. I recently watched a video snippet from Issa Rae, and you can look it up. Just type in YouTube, Issa Rae networking across. So in that video, she talked about the importance of networking across, looking at who's next to you and how you can help them and how they can also help you. Community building and networking can help you develop, build, and nurture your career connections. You can get access to knowledge. You can get help when it comes to navigating transitions. You can build credibility through these networks. And also you can seek out informational chats, offer help and support um, from people that you're building community with. The next one is coaching and mentoring. I feel like coaching and mentoring are really helpful ways to create sounding boards and to get career advice or guidance. So the way I approach mentoring is to go into a mentoring relationship with a goal, right? So once that goal is met, if I have another goal, I can start working on it either with the same mentor or a different one. I think it's important to realize that mentoring relationships can end. So please don't feel pressured to stick to one mentor like forever. You can also have mentors for different things. I have a mentor for technical guidance. I have another mentor for leadership stuff. And I have another one for general life stuff, especially when it comes to navigating work while being a mom as well. Sharing knowledge, sharing things that you've learned is a great way to build connections. And I think that as an add-on, it's also a good way for you to check how well you know what you have learned. So take up opportunities to share your learnings with other people. I think that's really good. So just put your hand up if there's an opportunity for you to share something that you've learned with a community like this. I think it's really good. And lesson 4, which is the last one, is use continuous learning as a strategy. So continuous learning is really important because you can level up by using it as a strategy for career growth. If you think about it, nothing is today what it was 10 years ago. So you want to stay up to date with things as they evolve. I learned very early on in my career to adopt a mindset of being a lifelong learner. So for some people, success is a certificate or a trophy or something that they get. But for me, I think of success as a process of continuous learning. Continuous learning can help you expand your career opportunities. It can help you enhance employability and also helps you to future-proof your career. When it comes to, for example, an area like innovation and creativity, continuous learning can help you discover who you can be and also to learn new experiences. When it comes to staying up to date and relevant, you can do that through professional development programs. Many companies have it. American Express does have it, and I've gone through some of them. On-demand learning, so many tools out there. University of YouTube, that's one of it. There's other tools like Pluralsight, O'Reilly, that we get through work. Networking is also a great way for you to stay up to date. And also seeking feedback from people that you've worked with. That's also a great way. And giving yourself stretch projects. And if you don't know how to do this, I can help you out. Your leaders at work can help you out as well. So I want to end by sharing this quote. Failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, this time more wisely, by Henry Ford. It's important to create a healthy relationship with failure. I think that creating a healthy relationship with failure is key to a long-time success. So think about failure as something that's not the opposite of achievement, right? I think that failure is part of the journey. So when you shift your mindset and you start seeing failure as a learning tool rather than a setback, then you can unlock growth. So you can also think about failure as feedback. It shows you what didn't work so that you can take a step back, refine and adapt and come back stronger. So I feel like some of the most successful people didn't avoid failure. They just learned to use it as a fuel. So when you fail, just know that you're one step closer to success and just keep moving forward. Just to recap the lessons that I've just discussed. Lesson 1, be open and ready for change. Lesson 2, hard skills can be transferable to. 3, make meaningful connections. And 4, use continuous learning as a strategy. So my gift to you today is this tried and tested career transition plan. So if you're thinking about changing roles, even switching teams, or even to get a promotion, or even if life is forcing you to make a change and it's just throwing things at you, you can follow this plan. And I've got a QR code here. You can scan it to get access to the plan that I've just showed. So I'll give you a few seconds to do the scanning. And once you've scanned it, let me know and then I can move on. I'll also share it on my LinkedIn and on my Instagram right after the session. So if you don't have your phone handy, you can do that. Yep. Cool. So you can scan this to get access to it. So thank you. Thank you for coming to my talk. If you want to connect with me, Maureen Biney on LinkedIn. I'm on X and Instagram as Maureen_Biney. And please, 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 if you're in Philadelphia in person, go and meet my amazing colleagues at booth 710 to learn more about Amex Tech. If you're virtual, please scan this second QR code to learn more about American Express technology. I'll go back to the transition plan because I see lots of people asking. So yeah, let me go through the questions. What does Amex look for in a candidate who is transitioning from one role to another? From experience, I know that American Express is very big on candidates who are always willing and ready to learn. So you should be teachable, right? Because you don't know how your journey at American Express is going to go. Someone who's teachable comes across as a better candidate than someone who's not. So just be teachable, be ready and willing to learn. How do you quickly adapt to a new role, whether functional or vertical transition? I think that it's important to set goals for yourself. So once you've just started a new role and spoken to people who are on the team, you can get a sense of what you want your goals to be. And this is something that you can work with your leader or the person that you're reporting to. So if you set your goals in that way, it's easy for you to involve yourself in activities that will help you to be able to adapt and also meet those goals. What would you advise against going down a level to make a functional transition? I don't think so. And I think this just depends on you and what your goals are. I personally don't think it's a no-go area. If that's definitely something that you want to go, you think about the process and think about where you want to get to. So if where you want to get to means taking a step back, that's okay. What are the key differences between a typical software engineer role and product management role? So software engineering, your programming languages, technical aptitude, whereas product management is, I want to say, more on the softer side. It's learning things like product roadmaps, not necessarily writing code, but however the two are, you're working very closely with software engineers. So it's good to be technical if you're a product manager working with a technical team. Okay. Um, I hope you don't mind me asking, but I'm really interested to know, how did you manage to secure a graduate role for 3 years in a row? So when I joined American Express, it was a rotational one, right? So that means that I got to do rotations on different teams. Now it's changed, it's not rotational anymore. And I don't know if that answers your question, but how did I get into American Express? I always work out loud. So I got a message on LinkedIn from someone who was working at American Express and said they've been following my work and the grad program was open. So I applied to it just like everyone else. And then I got in. So working out loud, and yeah, it was a rotational program. Did you do grad school while working? No, I didn't. I did grad school before I started working. I started working at American Express. What are your views on career gaps and how to navigate through a career gap? Do they have a huge impact on career growth? I would say no. Career gaps don't necessarily have an impact, but I say this having American Express in mind and other forward-thinking companies as well. So people take career gaps for different things, mental health, building family. You can do that, but it's important for you to stay as connected as possible to trends and other important information in the area that you want to go into after you've come out from that gap. How did you balance the risks of leaving a current position with the potential rewards of your new role? I don't know if I'm getting this correctly, but leaving, I left to join different roles, and I did that from making very informed decisions. So I didn't just leave because I wanted to. All of the roles that I did, all of the transitions that I did, they were very informed. So interviews with people working in those roles, learning as much as I could about those different roles. Yeah, so for me, I feel like that's a very good way to do it. Don't transition blindly. Do you feel that grad school gave you an upper hand starting in the industry? No, I don't think so, because if there are people that I joined the graduate program with that had not gone to grad school. There are people who still haven't gone to grad school. There are people who don't go to university, but they're still able to join and work in the industry through programs like apprenticeships. How would you try to do an interview for a career change if you've not had any experience in the role, but you're a very fast learner? I think that working on small projects is a really good way to show what you can do. So you maybe, for example, maybe a product manager wanting to work in in software engineering, what you would do is work on a small side project, something that you can show, something tangible that you can show for things that you have learned, how you've applied those things, and how you've been able to build with that. So that's what I would do. What are your thoughts on cold networking? Personally, I am open to people reaching out to me for a chat. Not everybody likes that. So I just think that you take what you can get. There are people who will be open to talking with you if you cold message them. Not everybody checks their LinkedIn messages in that way. So um I wouldn't say you don't do it, but you just take what you can get. Did you ever have to upskill when making a transition? If so, how did you handle that? Yeah, so upskilling, yes. When I went to work in product, I was I feel like I was a very shy person at the time. I just knew that to be able to communicate properly and be able to put my thoughts across, I needed to come out of my shell. So I took up opportunities to do like small speaking engagements, and I did that through the Amex version of Toastmasters, the Speakers Club, just to put myself out there. So I did that before and even during the transitions. Being where you are now, what are some things you might have changed in your journey? Oh, that's a hard one. I want to say that the things that I did in the past that in that moment I thought maybe I shouldn't have done, have come to serve me really well now. So maybe something that I would have changed was to not let imposter syndrome um, take over my career, where I veered into other different things. I feel like if I wanted to try other different things, it should have been out of curiosity, not because I felt like I wasn't good enough. So that's the way I'm thinking about it. Does having an undergraduate or graduate degree impact securing roles or career transitions? Can someone who discontinued their undergraduate program still find opportunities in these roles? I feel like different companies and different hiring leaders will look at these differently, but I feel like the important thing is to show that you've learned your stuff and you can deliver. So I don't think that it really matters. Just keep learning and keep building stuff and be able to show the things that you can do. Okay, cool. I know there are a few more questions in the chat, and I think we've got about 3-ish minutes. So let me go through. For industry or functional change, how do you go about looking for opportunities as you don't exactly know where to look? And how do you convince them they're good enough? I think I've spoken a little bit about this. When it comes to looking for opportunities, networking is always a big one. Talk to people, find your own community of people that you can look to. And how do you convince them that you're good? Show something tangible. So build something. What what does Amex look for in a candidate who is transitioning from one role to another? I think I've also covered this a little bit. Yeah, just show that you're ready to learn. Be very proactive is what I would say. You spoke about imposter syndrome steering you away from being a developer early on. Today, what advice do you have for someone who is deciding between the PM and software engineering role? I think a lot of introspection into finding out more about yourself and what makes you happy. There's no point going into a role that will make you miserable. So find that happy spot for yourself and go for it. Just we can talk more about this. You can reach out to me, but I feel like taking stock of skills, things that you're good at, will help you make that decision between PM and software engineering. Can you expand further on how you made the transition from engineer to TPM? I cover a lot of TPM telemetry and I think it translates well, but I think that for a technical project manager role, a lot of it, even though it's technical, there's so many soft skills that come into play here. And these are soft skills that you need to show that you have. So if you're looking for opportunities in the TPM world, think about those soft skills that can translate and make you an excellent TPM, and involve yourself in activities that will help you get those skills. We have less than a minute left. I've always been in IT support. Would love to move to PM. I don't have the certifications. I don't think that certifications are the only things that you need, but just be ready to build and show that you're able to do those roles rather than having certifications. I think that is build something tangible that you can show and talk about during an interview. Okay. Thank you. Did you feel like you had to prove yourself? Yes. In a lot of instances, I felt like I had to prove myself in many, many ways. Yeah, I did. Uh, Mariam, yes, yes, we can do a virtual tea. Send me a message. Send me a message on my LinkedIn, and we can make that happen. Okay. Thanks, guys. Okay. Yeah, I think that's all we've got. So thank you. Thank you very much for coming. And yeah, if you want to have a chat with me, please do reach out to me on LinkedIn and we can continue the conversation there. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording.